holy wisdom, emboldening us to cross boundaries, connect with those who differ from us, and by doing so, pay homage. Amen. Soon after giving birth to my second child, my firstborn, Fiona, came to the very same hospital where she had been born to greet her new brother. Two Kodak moments captured that day amid sheer joy. In one, Zach is cradled in my left arm while his sister, tucked in the right arm, reaches out tenderly to her new brother. A second photo shows Fiona doing what the Magi did, placing a gift, a Gerber daisy, before her brother. But a third memory was never photographed. Of Fiona leaning into me as if to grant a kiss, and then chomping down on my cheek, leaving a scar that stayed for a week. The bite mark evidence of her fear. Just over a year old, she was wise. Recognizing her brother's appearance meant the demise of life as she knew it. The word epiphany means manifestation. And for we Jesus followers, that means the world is different now. Because God revealed God's self in the form of a baby boy. Today's gospel shows those who experienced Jesus' birth reacted with varying emotions: joy and fear, excitement and concern, gratitude and anger. Additionally, the story of the wise men cometh has many characters embracing this range of emotions. Herod the Great, all of Jerusalem, chief priests, scribes, the wise men, Mary, Jesus, and Joseph, who, though not mentioned, must have been present as he is the key player in the next story, the flight into Egypt. Herod the Great was a decent enough king. He kept the peace, built the temple, like us, occasionally showcased and showed his generosity. But we also know other facts, not so great too, about the who of Herod. How he murdered his wife, his mother, his 3 sons. How, while on his deathbed, Herod ordered a group of Jerusalem citizens be imprisoned and ready so that when he passed, they would be murdered simultaneous to his death, guaranteeing that tears would be shed, if not for his death, at least for someone else's. And naturally, because of all of this, Herod is completely MIA from all nativity scenes. After all, who among us would invite a paranoid megalomaniac over for a sweet family gathering? We Christians do not really dwell on Herod, but we do a great job of selling the Magi. We relish thoughts of them. They who hosted the first historically documented baby shower. The men, remember, who invented the idea of gift giving at Christmas, and if we really want to get ridiculous, we can blame these wise guys for our Christmas credit card debt. Matthew never said how many there were. Early church art shows 2 or 4. Augustine claimed there were even more, a total of 12. But by the 6th century, lore settled on 3, 1 for each gift. It's the apologist Tertullian from the 2nd century who linked today's Old Testament readings, Psalm 72, Isaiah 60, to the New Testament, to Matthew, all of the texts predicting kings would bring the Messiah gifts. And so, because of Tertullian linking Old Testament, they were kings, to New Testament, magi, words, we call them kings. And thank you, Tertullian, because without you, that great Episcopal priest, John Henry Hopkins, would have never written "We Three Kings" for a New York City Christmas pageant. We've imagined over history quite a lot over the years about the Magi, but what do we really know? The barest of facts. They followed a star, got lost, rerouted, eventually found Jesus, gave gifts, had a divine dream, decided not to report back to Herod, went home another way. Martin Luther King Jr. in his book, Strength to Love, writes, "One of the great tragedies of life is that men and women seldom bridge the gulf between practice and profession, between doing and saying. How often are our lives characterized by a high blood pressure of creeds and an anemia of deeds? This agonizing gulf between the ought and the is represents the tragic theme of man's earthly pilgrimage." A cartoon I placed in this week's bulletin encourages we take a fresh look at the wise men. The cartoon observing it was people from another religion altogether who searched for Jesus. This we know. What we see on Christmas cards is not reality. 3 men, imaged as kings, is not what the Bible presents. The term magi is a plural form of magoi in Greek, which means Zoroastrian priests. Men, others believed were wise because they could interpret dreams, understand astrology, tell fortunes, prepare daily horoscopes. Fact is, the Magi were practitioners of one of the oldest religions in the world, Zoroastrianism, a religion that believed you could predict miraculous births by looking up at the stars. And it shouldn't escape us, particularly this weekend, that these foreigners were from Persia then, Iran now. These men were outsiders, Gentiles, unknowns, who left all that was familiar, gained the courage to ask directions from a psychotic king, so they could hunt down an impoverished family, bring gifts, be present. Those magi didn't just profess their faith, They practiced it. They didn't just say, we ought to go. They went. In Flushing, that often it makes complete and total sense to search for God in uncomfortable and difficult terrain. And that in that terrain, paying homage to Jesus is what always matters the most. Brene Brown observed, sometimes the most important and brave thing you can do is just show up. At the 2019 Golden Globes, Sarah Oh made history, and while doing so, displayed many emotions. She was the first Asian actress ever to host the awards, and at the ceremony's start, admitted she was deathly frightened of the task. Then she went on that night to win her second Golden Globe, full of joy, and then at the microphone embraced and held up gratitude to her parents who she had taken as her dates to the event. And then came the best part. In Korean, she said, "Mom, Dad, I love you." And before all of Hollywood, she bowed to her parents, publicly paying them homage. Friends, everything we do is a manifestation of our faith. It displays who we are, what we love, what we think is important, what we believe. This year, may we embrace holy wisdom every day, asking ourselves, examining ourselves with one question: who do we bow to? And with bodies, resources, minds, and spirits, may our answer always be Jesus the Christ. Amen.